What if, on a common night, in a simple restaurant around the corner, fate decided to cross the life of a young waitress tired with that of a billionaire carrying secrets greater than all her fortune? It was an end to work. The restaurant's yellow lights created long shadows on the spent walls, while the smell of newly set coffee mingled with that of washed dishes. A few tables were still occupied by lonely clients, plunged into thoughts, but nothing drawn more attention than the atmosphere of silence that precedes something grand. Behind the counter, Anna, the waitress with eyes marked by exhaustion, cleaned glasses with automatic movements, trying to disguise the weight of a too-long day. His uniform no longer had the freshness of the morning, and each step echoes a slight tiredness. Suddenly the door opened with a metallic sound. He entered, a tall man, wearing an impeccable suit that completely disagreed with the simplicity of the environment. His shoes shone as if they had never stepped on ordinary streets, and the clock on his wrist reflected the golden light of the ceiling as a silent headlight of wealth. He walked unhurriedly, but there was something in his gaze that mixed loneliness and power, as if every step were measured, as if he carried a secret that no one there could ever understand. Anna watched him with the discretion of those who have seen strange customers, but soon realized that this man was not just different. There was an invisible weight in him, something that seemed to contradict the image of perfection and wealth stamped in every detail of his appearance. He ordered a sugar-free coffee and remained silent, looking out the window as if he sought answers on the dark streets outside. The clock scored almost midnight when he finished his drink, got up unhurriedly, and left some generous notes on the table. However, amid the rush of his discreet exit, an object was forgotten on the leather seat. A check, but not any check. It was part of a thick, elegant check of checks, with the name recorded in silver letters, accompanied by a signature that any banker would recognize immediately. Anna curiously took the object. His heart accelerated to realize that that name was not a common name. It was the last name that appeared on the covers of financial magazines, in headlines about billionaire mergers, in discreet scandals stuffy by the media. She trembled as she held that piece of paper that was worth more than her salary. But there was something beyond the monetary value. The signature brought a symbolic force, as if it carried family secrets, hidden business, and perhaps even memories that no one should touch. The dilemma settled in your mind like a shadow. Should it simply return the check the next day, or would it be facing a unique opportunity to change one's life? The temptation to it, but the honesty that had always guided his story, shouted even louder. However, the more she held that bead, the more she realized that there was something beyond money. The subtle detail of a small note on the cover, almost erased by time, aroused his curiosity even more. It was an inscription on lowercase letters, which resembled a dedication, something intimate, familiar. She kept the check inside the apron, taking a deep breath as the clock advanced to the absolute silence of the morning. The restaurant emptied, but the tension on his chest only grew. He could not push the image of that mysterious man from his mind, with eyes of loneliness and power. Who was he really? Why did you seem so far from your own wealth? And above all, what would be the true importance of that forgotten check? Fate, however, would not allow Anna to be left out of answers. The next morning, when least expected, the restaurant door would open again, and the billionaire would return, bringing with it not only tears, but a revelation that would change her life forever. The next morning, the bell of the restaurant door sounded again, bringing with him the same man of the night before. But now, his posture was completely different. The suit was still impeccable, the clock was still shining, but his eyes denounced something no expensive costume could hide. There were contained tears, a silent weight that turned his presence into something almost unbearable to face himself. Anna felt her heart shoot. She shared her hand discreetly to the apron pocket, where she still kept the checkbook. The environment seemed to freeze. Even the usual customers stopped chewing for a few seconds, as if they realized that something extraordinary was about to happen. The man approached slowly without the confidence of the night before. His gaze sought something as if lost, or perhaps as if he had lost much more than money. When he finally found Anna, her voice came out low, almost a whisper. I think I left something here yesterday." The tension was palpable. Anna stared at him for a moment, measuring every gesture, trying to understand who was really before her. The headlines, billionaire or just a broken man inside. His hand squeezed the fabric of the apron, but not only one object, but the fate of both. "And here I ask you, if you were in Anna's place, what would you do? Would you risk returning without question, or would investigate the secret that seemed to hide more than wealth? Leave your answer in the comments. And don't forget to leave and subscribe to follow other intense stories in the world of billionaires. Anna took a deep breath, but has not yet delivered the check. The silence that followed was so dense that it seemed that even the walls of the restaurant listened. The man, visibly shaken, led his hand to his face, trying to contain the tears. Something on that check was much more important than any figure could explain. And the next moment Anna understood that she was about to discover a secret that would forever change her life. Anna's breathing seemed heavier than ever. The restaurant, still silent in the morning, was impregnated with an almost visible tension. The man before her, who the night before had transmitted only mystery, now seemed a giant crumbling, a castle of cracked marble. The red eyes denounced that he had not slept. Perhaps he had spent the night desperately looking for the forgotten object. He leaned over the counter, the embargoed voice. Did you find something last night?" Anna swallowed hard. She felt the checkbook in the apron pocket like a piece of coal in red, hot, burning her skin. Every second it seemed an eternity. She looked around. 2 customers had coffee without paying much attention, but it was as if the walls were closer, lurking every word. Yes," he answered finally, the voice firm, but the heart fired. The man closed his eyes for a moment, as if he was silently thanking some invisible force. When he fused it again, the tears contained dripped. They were not tears of those who had only lost money. They were tears of someone who had lost something deeper, more intimate. "Please," he murmured, reaching out gently, "you don't know how much it means to me." Anna hesitated. Everything in his instinct said there was something hidden in that scene. She withdrew the object from her pocket slowly, as if pulling a secret hidden from the darkness. The man arrested his breath to see the elegant leather cover with the name recorded in silver letters. But instead of delivering him immediately, she held firmly and asked, "Why is this so important?" The man widened his eyes. The question seemed simple, but carried an unexpected force. He took a deep breath, leaned his hands on the counter, and after a few seconds of silence replied, "Because it's not just a check." Anna kept her look at him, waiting for her to continue. "This little bead." His voice hesitated, and he interrupted her with a sigh. "This bead was from my father." Anna blinked, confused. "From your father?" "Yes." He ran a hand through his hair nervously. "My father passed away a few years ago. He left few personal things, and this bead was one of the last memories I kept. Not for the value, not for the money that could be in it, but because, in each sheet, there was something of it. An annotation, a scribbled number, a signature. I never had the courage to use it. It's like it was the last time I could see your living handwriting, understanding your crazes, feeling that he was still with me." Anna was silent. Suddenly that object, which seemed only a symbol of wealth, became something laden with emotion. The room revolved around a revelation that no one expected. He continued, with his voice increasingly fragile. "Yesterday, when I realized I had lost, it was like I had lost my father again. I spent the whole night looking for. I rolled the car, went back to the places I walked, but I knew, deep down, that I had left it here." Anna squeezed the bead against her chest. The scene looked unreal. She thought of her own relationship with her family, The small objects she kept as treasures, even worthless. A simple napkin written by his mother was as weight as a diamond. Maybe that's why she understood the pain behind those tears at that moment. But there was something that made no sense. "If it's so important," Anna asked in a low tone, "why were you walking with him? Why did you bring here?" The man diverted his look, clearly uncomfortable. I shouldn't." He swallowed hard. "But there was a reason." Anna frowned. "What reason?" He hesitated. The silence stretched, tense. Anna realized that the billionaire struggled with himself, trying to decide whether or not he revealed, until he murmured, "Q, inaudible US. I came here yesterday, because this place was special to my father." Anna felt a shiver through her spine. "Special? What do you mean?" "He used to come here, long before you work here. This restaurant was where it sat every afternoons in the corner of that window." He pointed to an empty table, lit by the soft light of the morning sun. "He said that this was the only place where he could be just an ordinary man, without titles, without fortunes, without anyone asking for anything." Anna looked at the table and, for a moment, was almost able to visualize a man with calm look, holding a coffee mug. The image formed in his mind as a portrait painted by fate. The billionaire continued, "Yesterday, after years, I decided to go back here. I sat on that table. I tried to feel what he felt. I brought with me the bead because—" His voice failed again. "Because inside him there are more than checks. There is a letter." Anna widened her eyes. "A letter?" "Yes, a letter he wrote to me. A letter I never had the courage to read." The silence fell hard. The revelation seemed to open a door to something much bigger, something that was still hidden under layers of pain, secret and family mystery. Anna looked at him, divided between compassion and curiosity. The heart was beating rapidly. At that moment, he was not just a billionaire. He was facing a lost son in memories, trying to cling to a piece of past that money could not buy. She held the strongest bead. "So, is the letter still inside?" He nodded slowly. Anna took a deep breath. Everything inside her said that story was just beginning. And you, if you had someone's last written memory in your hands, would you return immediately or try to find out what was hiding there? Comment what you would do, because this decision can change everything. Anna looked up again at the man in front of him, and without realizing it, the question that was formed on his lips was about to lead both to the most painful revelation of all. The morning still stretched slowly, dyeing the restaurant windows with golden tones. Anna continued with the check of checks in hand, the cold leather contrasting with the heat of her skin. The billionaire standing before her seemed not to care about the curious eyes of the few customers. There was something different in his presence now, no longer the grandeur of a powerful man, but the vulnerability of someone who carried in his back memories impossible to erase. He took a deep breath, and his voice broke the silence like a whisper. "The letter is still inside." Anna frowned. And why never read her? The man diverted his eyes to the window, where the morning light reflected on his deducted face. "Because I knew that when I read it, it would be the end." His last voice. "The last time I would have something new from my father. After that, it would be just silence." The words hovered in the air, heavy as lead. Anna watched him, trying to imagine the weight of living under a huge fortune, but still unable to escape a void left by someone beloved. "But," she said hesitantly, "you brought her here yesterday. That means you thought of reading, isn't it?" He stared at her, teary eyes. "Yes, I thought. I sat on that table. I touched the cover of the bead, but I couldn't. I froze." Anna held the object firmly, as if it were part of her destination as well. His curiosity burned inside, but together came a strange respect for that man. "If it's that important," she started, but stopped in the middle of the sentence. He got closer. His presence was intense, but not threatening. "I need him back." His voice trembled. I need to look at those words. I need to face what my father has written. Anna felt her heart beat faster. She didn't know if it was compassion or the instinct saying that there was something bigger hidden. With a sigh, she slid the bead down the counter to him. The billionaire closed his eyes when touching him, as if the simple contact was enough to revive memories. He opened it slowly, passing his fingers through the blank pages and old signatures, until he stopped on a folded sheet in the middle. Anna watched attentive, unable to contain curiosity. "Is this the letter?" He nodded, irregular breathing. With trembling hands, he pulled the yellowish paper, already a little spent by time. The fold was marked as if it had been opened and closed many times, but the wax seal was still intact. He had never gathered the courage to break him. Anna, without realizing it, took a step forward. The silence was so dense that even the sound of the clock on the wall seemed deafening. "Are you going to read now?" she asked, almost in a whisper. He hesitated. I don't know if I can." "So why did you come here today?" she insisted. "If it wasn't to open, why bring with you?" He looked at the empty table again, the same in which he said that his father, Ava, sit. "Because I feel that if you have to read, it has to be here, in this place." Anna took a deep breath. Her heart also seemed stuck in her throat. Something in that letter was not just a farewell message. There was a secret there, something that could change everything. The billionaire held the letter but let it rest on the table. He faced Anna as if she sought approval. "Would you stay with me while I read?" he asked, his voice almost breaking. Anna blinked, surprised. "I? Yes," he nodded slowly. "I don't want to be alone. My father, he always believed more in ordinary people than in tycoons. He said that the truth about us reveals itself before those who expect nothing in return." Anna's heart shot. She sat in the opposite chair, trying to disguise her nervousness. "If that's what you need, I stay." He gave a sad, grateful smile. Then he held the letter firmly and with a hesitant gesture broke the seal. The sound of the wax broke, echoed like thunder inside the small restaurant. Anna didn't blink. The billionaire slowly unfolded the roll, revealing a firm, loaded handwriting. But before she started reading, she closed her eyes and murmured, "Dad, forgive me for taking so long." He then started reading. His voice, initially low, was gaining body as the words came out of the paper. "My son, if he is reading this, means that the time has come to face the truth. I have always been proud of the man you have become. But I also know that wealth can blind, and that the greatest treasures of life are not in coffers or actions, but in the people around us." The billionaire choked on reading, the tears falling without control. Anna, thrilled, kept her eyes fixed on his face. He continued, his voice intertwined. "I always come to this restaurant because here I met someone who has changed my life. Here I learned the value of simplicity, true friendship. And this is where I want you to find the answer to something I could never tell you in life." Anna felt a shiver up the spine. The tone of the letter was changing. It was not just paternal advice. There was something bigger. The billionaire stopped reading, taking a deep breath. Anna took the opportunity to ask, "What did he mean by answer?" He shook his head. "I don't know, but it seems that my father kept a secret attached to this place." Anna looked at the open, restless paper. "Continue." He nodded and continued, even with his embargoed voice. "If I ever come back here and find this letter, know that there is something in this place that also belongs to you. Something I kept silent, but that carries part of our true story." Anna's hand trembled on the table. She leaned forward, almost whispering, "Something in this place. But what?" The billionaire dropped the roll for a moment, pressing his forehead with his hand. He never talked about it." Anna, taken by curiosity and suspense that grew with each word, murmured, "That means your father left more than memories here." He stared at her, his teary and intense eyes. "Yes, and now I need to find out what." Anna felt cold through her spine. That was not just about a billionaire in search of memories. It was about buried secrets, perhaps even a past that no one imagined. She took a deep breath, trying to contain anxiety. "Do you think your father hid something here?" The billionaire did not respond immediately. His gaze wandered through the restaurant, as if every detail could keep a track. The table spends for time, the old watch on the wall, the shelves full of chipped mugs. And then, with a sudden firmness, he said, "I'm sure." The silence that followed was suffocating. Anna couldn't take her eyes off him, nor the yellowish paper that resting on the table. I felt that at any time a revelation could turn everything upside down. And you, if you were there, witnessing a billionaire about to unravel the secret of your own family, would you stay to discover or move away not to get involved? Comment what you would do, because the story is just starting. Anna straightened in her chair, her heart fast. The billionaire took a deep breath and got up slowly, as if he had already made a decision. He would look, and what to find inside that restaurant could change not only his life, but also hers. The billionaire remained standing in front of the table, the open letter over the wooden top. Her eyes repeatedly traveled, as if seeking details hidden between her father's words. The environment seemed to have changed. The simple restaurant, with its cracked tiles and strong coffee smell, now carried a different aura, as if it were a stage mounted for years for the revelation that was about to happen. Anna watched his movement, unable to hide his curiosity. The letter left no doubt. There was something there, something the father had kept. Something that transcended to death. "Are you sure it's here?" she asked in a low voice. "Sometimes. Farewell letters speak of metaphors." "Larry," the billionaire looked up, firm despite recent tears. "My father never talked about metaphors. Every word of him had weight. If he said there's something in this place, then it's here." Anna hesitated for a moment. His gaze fell on the checkbook still open, resting beside the letter. The repeated signature, the notes in the corners of the pages, seemed to contain pieces of a story that had not been told. "What if it's not physical?" she insisted. "What if it's just a teaching?" He shook his head. "No!" The voice came out firm, almost sharp. "I knew my father. If he wrote that there is something in this restaurant, then that's something I can play." The silence stretched. Anna felt a mixture of fear and fascination. The billionaire was decided, but that search could bring out secrets that may not even be prepared to face. He walked away from the table and started walking slowly through the hall, his eyes attentive to every detail. He touched the chairs, ran his hand over the wall, examined the corners, as if each crack could reveal a hidden secret. Anna followed him with the look, but could not resist. "What exactly do you expect to find?" He stopped before the table where he said his father used to sit down. He leaned his hand on the wood and took a deep breath. "I don't know. It can be a letter, an object, even a document. But whatever it is," he turned his eyes to Anna, intense, "has to do with me, with our family." Anna approached slowly, also leaning her hand on the table. The top was spent, the wood marked by years of customers who passed by. "This table is old," she said. "You may have something hidden inside her." The billionaire looked at her with hope and fear at the same time. "Do you think the restaurant owner would let it move?" Anna looked around. The manager was not in the hall at that time, just a few distracted customers. She took a deep breath. "If it's really as important as it seems, maybe we shouldn't expect permission." He arched his eyebrows, surprised. "Are you suggesting that I break the table?" Anna bit her lip. "Not exactly breaking, but looking for something that can be opened without drawing attention." He smiled lightly, a smile loaded with tension. "You're brave than I thought." She looked away, blushing. "It's not courage, it is curiosity." He turned his eyes to the table and ran his fingers down the edges, pressing slowly as those looking for a hidden mechanism. Then he knelt, examining the bottom. Anna bent too, helping. The smell of old wood and dust has taken over. Suddenly he stopped. "Here," the voice came out in whisper. "Feel that." Anna ran her hand and noticed a small slit, almost imperceptible, at the bottom of the top, something that didn't seem natural. "It looks like a hidden lid," she said, surprised. The billionaire looked around, making sure no one paid attention. So carefully he pressed the slit. A slight click was heard, a piece of wood released, revealing a secret compartment. Anna took her hand to her mouth incredulously. "I don't believe—" Inside the space was an aged envelope, yellowed by time, with the same last name recorded in black ink. The billionaire reached out his handy hand and pulled him out. "He really left something here," he murmured. Anna felt her heart accelerate. The envelope seemed to carry an invisible weight. It wasn't just paper, it was a fragment of the past, hidden as a treasure. "Open," she said, almost a whisper. He hesitated, facing the object with reverence. "What if I don't like what I will find?" Anna took a deep breath. "You have thought about it all your life, right? Maybe it's time to know." He was silent for a few seconds, until, with trembling hands, he broke the seal. Inside were several folded leaves and an old photograph. Seeing the image, his eyes widened. It was the picture of his younger father sitting on that same table. Beside him, a smiling woman that the billionaire did not recognize. Anna leaned over, trying to see. "Who is she?" He shook his head, confused. "I don't know. I've never seen this woman before." Anna bit her lip. "Maybe it's someone important to him." The billionaire pulled one of the leaves and started reading. His eyes ran through the lines quickly, and each sentence seemed to tear a piece of his breath. Anna could not resist. "What is written?" He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and replied, "It's a confession." "Confession?" she repeated, scared. He nodded slowly. "My father wrote that years ago he met this woman here, and that she changed his life forever." Anna frowned. "How did you change?" The billionaire squeezed the leaf tightly. "He wrote that she gave him something no money could buy." "Anna." He looked back at the photo, the accelerated heart. "You think he's talking about—" He interrupted her, the low and serious voice. "Yes, from a child." The silence that followed was overwhelming. Anna felt the air stuck in her lungs. The billionaire stared at the photo, the pale face. "That means," he murmured, almost without voice, "I can have a brother." Anna took her hand to her chest, trying to process the revelation. "A brother, hiding all this time." He nodded, still in shock. "And from what is written here, this brother may have grown in this neighborhood, maybe even coming to this restaurant." The world seemed to spin around them. Anna tried to speak, but the words didn't come out. The billionaire ran his hands on his face in despair. "All my life, all my fortune, and my father kept a secret like that." Anna finally found the strength to ask, "And what are you going to do now?" He looked at her, eyes full of uncertainty and pain. "I need to find it. I need to find out who it is." Anna felt her body shudder. Revelation changed everything, and the search that began could reveal even tougher truths. And you? Would you have the courage to look for a hidden brother in the past of his family, or would it leave the secret buried? Comment what you would do, because this decision can change everything. The billionaire squeezed the photograph against the chest, as if it were the only link with the truth. Anna watched in silence, but deep down she knew. That revelation was just the beginning. And when he looked up again, a cold determination shone in his gaze. He would not rest until he found the answer. Anna remained standing, looking at the photograph in the hands of the billionaire, as if that image could swallow the entire air of the restaurant. The silence had become so dense that even the noise of cutlery and conversations in the background seemed distant. The billionaire was still holding the picture against his chest, but his eyes were fixed on the table, as if he feared to face the face of the unknown woman again. "It changes everything," he murmured. Anna took a deep breath, trying to organize her own thoughts. "If it's true, if you really have a brother out there, someone needs to have known this story." He raised his eyes slowly. "Someone in here can know." It was then that Anna realized. The waitress who had attended them at the beginning was stopped at the counter, observing discreetly. Her eyes diverted fast whenever she caught them looking, but there was something in her posture, as if she knew more than she should. "Look," Anna said in a low tone, touching his arm. "Do you think she—" He didn't answer. He just got up suddenly and walked to the counter. Anna followed right behind. The waitress, a young woman of just over 20, straightened her apron when she noticed the approach. He tried to look casual, but his breath was rapid. "Sorry to disturb," the billionaire began, a firm voice. "I need to ask you a question." "Of course, sir," she replied nervously. He put the photograph on the counter, pushing her slowly toward her. "Have you seen this woman before?" The waitress looked at the photo and froze. His lips were gone through, but no word came out. Anna immediately realized the change in her expression. It was not a common surprise. It was the kind of reaction of those who recognize something they should not. "Then," the billionaire insisted, now more intensely, "have you seen her?" The girl swallowed hard. I don't know. It looks familiar, but—" "Don't lie." He leaned over the counter, staring at her. "I can see in your eyes. You know who it is." Anna touched his arm discreetly, trying to contain the pressure. "Calm down. You won't get anything screaming." The billionaire took a deep breath, controlling himself. "Please," he said, now in a milder tone. "I need to know. This woman may have been important to my father." The waitress squeezed the apron tightly, hesitating. His gaze went from photography to his eyes, as if he struggled with something inside him. "I can't talk about it," he said, almost in a whisper. "I already said too much." Anna frowned. "What do you mean by already said too much?" The young woman backed up a step, restless. "Forget it, only finish the meal and leave." The billionaire rose, outraged. "You know something!" The girl turned to leave, but Anna ran to her, holding her arm. "Wait!" The waitress shivered, her eyes teary. "I can't, or don't you want to?" Anna asked firmly. "It involves more people than you think. If there is something hidden here, someone will find out sooner or later." "Do you prefer to be part of lies or truth?" The girl breathed fast, as if to collapse at any moment. Finally, he closed his eyes for a second and murmured, "This woman, she was not any client." The billionaire approached again, the voice, laden voice. "Who was she?" The waitress bit her lips, as if each word were a risk. "She was always here, almost every day, and I always asked to sit on that table." He pointed discreetly to the table where they found the secret compartment. The two talked for hours. Sometimes she was alone, left a letter, and left without waiting. Anna widened her eyes. "Letters?" The young woman nodded. "The manager knew everything. He even kept some to deliver when his father arrived." The billionaire was astonished. "The manager?" The waitress looked around, making sure no one heard. Then he leaned and whispered, "But don't talk to me here. If he finds out that I told you, I can lose my job." Anna tried to reassure her. "No one needs to know, but you need to be honest with us." The billionaire leaned, looking at her in the eye. "This secret can change my whole life. It may be that I have a brother." He took a deep breath, his voice breaking. "Do you understand the weight of it?" The young woman seemed to falter. Her eyes wore once more, and she dropped in a thread. "I understand, because I grew up listening to him." The billionaire's heart shot. Anna felt a shiver through her spine. "What did you say?" he asked incredulously. The waitress retreated, frightened by her own revelation. "I shouldn't have said that." Anna grabbed her hand. "Please explain. You said you grew up listening to him. Who are you talking about?" The girl took a deep breath, fighting fear. From the child, the son she had with her father. The billionaire paled, unable to react. The phrase echoed like thunder within his mind. Anna squeezed the waitress's hand further. "Do you know who this son is? Where is he?" The young woman closed her eyes, as if every memory Ferris. "I know, but not here. I can't talk in front of everyone." The billionaire was almost without voice. "So where?" She hesitated, the lost look. "Tonight, after the work. Find me behind the restaurant, but don't let anyone notice." Anna nodded fast. "We'll be there." The waitress pulled her hand back and hurried out, disappearing through the kitchen door. The billionaire fell into the nearest chair, running his hands through his hair. "I don't believe it." Anna sat next to him, still trying to breathe. "It changes everything." He looked at the photograph again, the woman's face smiling like a ghost of the past. If she was telling the truth, then my father really had another son, and this girl knows who he is. Anna whispered, almost without realizing it, "Would you do what if you found out you have a lost brother in the world?" The billionaire did not answer, just stared at the kitchen door, where the waitress had disappeared, with a heavy heart of doubts and fear. The night promised to bring answers, but also risks, because secrets like that never remain hidden for no reason. And as the tension grew, a question hovered in the air. How far was the waitress willing to reveal, and how far does anyone allow the truth to come out? The night came down over the city like a heavy veil, covering secrets that during the day seemed easier to ignore. The streets were wet by the thin rain that had fallen hours earlier, reflecting the light posts on puddles scattered over the irregular asphalt. The restaurant had already closed its doors, and the silent facade conveyed that feeling that something was still throbbing inside, a story that could not be buried. Anna walked alongside the billionaire, the heart rapidly. Each step echoed like a warning inside it. The reminder of the waitress promising to find them behind the restaurant kept her on alert, but also full of doubts. "What if it's a trap?" Anna whispered, looking at her dark alleys around. The billionaire straightened the expensive jacket on his shoulders, trying to disguise the tension. "It doesn't matter. I need to know the truth, even if it donates." The alley behind the restaurant was almost dark, illuminated only by an ancient lamp that blinked from time to time, as if they were undecided about whether to stay on. The smell of garbage from stacked bags mingled with that of distant smoke, creating a scenario not glamorous for someone used to marble halls and silent mansions. Anna crossed her arms, trying to push the cold and the fear away. "Have you ever thought that if this is true, your life will never be the same?" He looked at her seriously but vulnerable. "I've thought of nothing beyond that since I got that check back." The silence wrapped them until quick steps echoed through the alley. The waitress came up, now wearing a shabby jacket on the uniform, her hair tied anyway. Her gaze was restless, and she seemed to check each shadow before approaching. "You came," he said, panting, almost like a relief. "You left us without choice," answered the billionaire. "Now talk. Who is this son? Where is he?" The young woman hesitated, biting her lips. "It's not that simple. There are people who don't want this story to come." Anna leaned forward. "People? Who?" The waitress lowered the tone of voice. "The manager, and others who worked here before. They knew the meetings happened, but there was money involved for anyone to comment on anything." The billionaire closed his hands on fists. Money, always money to hide the truth. The young woman looked at him with compassion. "Your father didn't want the world to know. He came here because it was the only place where he could be just an ordinary man, not a billionaire. And with her," he pointed out the picture he was still holding in his pocket, "he had peace." Anna realized that the billionaire hesitated for a moment. His eyes wore, and he looked away. "Peace. Something he never had with me." The waitress took a deep breath. "The son was born right here in this city. She created him alone. But when she got sick, she left letters. Letters that may explain more than I can say." "Where are these letters?" the billionaire asked, the voice firm but shaky. "Saved." The young woman looked around, suspicious. "But not with me. They are with someone she trusted, someone who worked here many years ago." Anna frowned. "And this person is still alive?" The waitress nodded. "Yes, but you don't like to be remembered this story." The billionaire stepped ahead, the voice, laden voice. "Then take us to her. Now." The young woman shook her head, retreating. "No, it's not safe tonight. I've been taking it too much just to tell you this," Anna insisted. "But we need answers." The waitress raised her hand, almost in plea. "Please understand. If the manager knows that I said, I can lose everything." The billionaire took a deep breath, trying to contain anger. "Then at least tell me his name." The young woman looked around, making sure they were alone. Then he whispered, "His name is Samuel. He worked here as a waiter for years. Today lives away, in a simple house near the lake." Anna recorded the name mentally. Samuel. The waitress moved a few steps. The breath still accelerated. "That's all I can say. The rest, you need to find out alone." "Wait!" The billionaire reached out. "And the son? What happened to him?" The young woman stopped, hesitated, and answered only, "He grew up without knowing who his father was. But if it's still alive, it's not far away." And then it disappeared through the darkness, leaving Anna and the billionaire alone in the alley, surrounded by even larger questions. Anna ran her hand over her face, trying to understand. "She knows more than she said." "Much more," the billionaire replied, clearing his teeth. "And now we have a name. Samuel." The cold wind crossed the alley, causing the lamp to flash once more. Silence seemed to carry a warning. The deeper they were in that story, the more dangerous it would become. Anna touched his arm. What if it's too late? What if Samuel doesn't want to talk? He took a deep breath, the fixed look in nothingness. "So let's find out another way. I can't stop now." Anna sighed, staring at the wet floor. "Would you do the same? It would go after a truth that can destroy your father's image, and maybe even yours. Comment what I would do in my place." The billionaire kept the photograph in his pocket, squeezing it like a talisman. "Tomorrow we go to the lake." And as they walked away from the alley, the sleeping city seemed to observe in silence, as if he knew that the next stage of that search would reveal something much larger than a family secret. Something that could change not only their lives, but that of all who had somehow been touched by that mysterious man. Because in the darkness of the night of uncertainty, a truth was waiting, and it wouldn't be easy to face. The morning sun spread lazy over the city, dyeing the old buildings and reflecting on the still damp asphalt from the night before. Anna had barely slept. He had spent hours turning on the bed, wondering what they would find when they were behind Samuel. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw the waitress's face asking for silence, the fear stamped in her look like an omen. When he left the house, he found the billionaire already waiting for him, leaning against a discreet but still luxurious car, which destroyed the simplicity of the neighborhood. He held a cup of coffee and seemed to have spent the night in clear as well. His red eyes denounced the tiredness. "Did something sleep?" Anna asked, straightening her bag on her shoulder. He shrugged without humor. "Enough to dream of things you didn't want. And will you face this day anyway?" "I have no choice." He opened the car door for her. "Let's go to the lake." The route followed in silence for long minutes, only the low snoring of the engine filling the space. Anna watched the landscape change, narrow streets, old houses, trees that leaned like guardians of a secret. The more they moved away from the center, the more sensation of isolation grew. Finally, they reached a dirt road that led to a small community on the banks of the lake. The calm waters reflected the clear sky, and the air smelled of pine and moisture, the tranquility of the scenario violently contrasting with the weight they both carried on their chest. "Does he live here?" Anna asked, looking at the wooden houses spread across the bank. The billionaire nodded, with a fixed look at one of them. The waitress said yes. It was a simple construction, with peeling painting and a bad garden. A rusty bike leaning against the porch denounced the lives of someone who no longer connected to appearances. The billionaire parked the car and took a deep breath. "Are you ready?" Anna forced a nervous smile. "This question is for you." They walked to the door. Before they could hit, she opened with a creak. An advanced age man emerged, supported by a cane. His eyes, small and attentive, studied them with caution. "I already know who you are," he said bluntly. "The girl warned me that they would come." Anna and the billionaire exchanged a surprised look. "So you are Samuel?" the billionaire asked. The man nodded. "Enter. We have a lot to talk about." The interior of the house was simple, almost austere, but loaded with an atmosphere of memory. Old frames, shelves full of dusty books, an erased fireplace. Samuel sat in a spent armchair, gesturing them to occupy the couch ahead. "You came in search of the truth," he said, crossing his hands over the cane. "But the truth is not light to carry." "I need her," the billionaire answered. "Whatever it is." Samuel sighed as if he had expected years for that moment. "Your father came here many times after the dating at the restaurant. He trusted me. I asked me to keep things." Anna leaned forward. "Letters?" "Yes, letters," Samuel confirmed. "Some of her, some of him." His eyes narrowed. "And also a diary." The billionaire paled. "A diary?" "From the woman." Samuel firmly looked at him. "Your mother never knew, but her father wrote to her for years. I didn't always deliver, but wrote." And she answered. Anna felt a shiver. "Where are these letters now?" Samuel pointed to a wooden chest next to the fireplace. "Saved there. But before I deliver them, I want to make sure they are ready." The billionaire got up impatiently. "I already waited too long. I want to see." Samuel raised his hand, asking for calm. "If you open this chest, your view of your father will never be the same. I ask again, are you ready?" The silence stopped. Anna looked at the billionaire, trying to read her face. He seemed divided between the need to know and the fear of what he could find. Finally he nodded. "Open." Samuel sighed deeply, as if he signed a sentence. He got up with difficulty and opened the chest. Inside, packs of cards tied with tape, some loose envelopes, and a cover notebook. He withdrew the notebook and handed it to the billionaire. "Start here." The billionaire opened the first pages. The calligraphy was delicate, feminine. The woman in the photo wrote about nights of loneliness, about brief meetings that gave her hope, about the fear of raising a son without her father next door. His hands trembled. Each word seemed to pierce your soul. "My God," he murmured. Anna read over her shoulder, feeling the pain contained in each line. She really loved him. Samuel shook his head. "More than you imagine." But it also suffered for it. The billionaire became a few pages until he found a direct mention. "Our son deserves the truth, even if he never knows who the father really is." He closed the diary sharply, staring at Samuel. "Where is he?" Samuel hesitated, looking at the floor. He grew up close here, but life was not easy for him. The mother passed away early, and he was raised by distant relatives. Anna held the billionaire's hand, trying to contain him. "Do you know his name?" Samuel looked up. "I know, but it is not safe to reveal anyway. There are people interested in keeping this secret buried." The billionaire squeezed the fists. "These damn people always—" "Who?" Before Samuel could answer, a noise outside interrupted them, the sound of tires grinding on the dirt road. Anna ran to the window. A black car had stopped in front of the house. Two men of dark suit came out, looking toward the door. "We're being followed," she whispered, scared. The billionaire closed the diary quickly. "Who are they?" Samuel got up with effort, his hard face. "Men from your father's old business circle. They don't want you to discover anything." Anna looked at the billionaire. The heart fired. "And now?" He took a deep breath, trying to keep control. "Now we decide if we run away, or if we stares at the truth head on." The door was struck from outside, a crash that echoed through the small house. "Abram!" a voice severe ordered. Anna looked at Samuel, desperate. "What are we going to do?" Samuel answered low, almost a whisper. "Protect the diary. He is the key." And before I could explain more, another crash shook the door, about to give in. "La, would you do the same? Would you be going to face the danger, or run away with the truth in your hands?" Anna thought, as the sound of the wood starting announced that the night of uncertainty was far from over. The silence inside the house was almost deafening. The billionaire squeezed the diary against his chest like a shield, while Anna kept her hand over the door handle, ready for any movement. Samuel positioned himself near the fireplace, his eyes attentive to every shadow that moved, with the moonlight entering the windows. Outside, the men in suit were still surrounding, but they still didn't try to break into the door. It was a loaded silence, a kind of tension that only arises when everyone knows that the next decision can be expensive. They won't wait forever, Anna murmured, her voice almost a whisper but firm. If you decide to get in, we're alone. Alone and prepared, said the billionaire, looking at the diary, and no one will touch this book. Samuel frowned. What you have there is not just a diary. It is a living proof, and they know that. Anna took a deep breath. Who are they? Who really wants to prevent the truth from coming out? The billionaire closed his eyes, his shoulders tensioned. People who lived in the shadow of my father. Business partners, allies who benefited from my absence and lack of family information. They don't want anyone to find out that there was another life of him, another story. Samuel squeezed the cane tightly. And if they are confronted, they can become violent. The billionaire swallowed hard. Then we need to think fast. Every second account. Anna looked out the window again. One of the men approached, inspecting the ground in front of the house. He seemed to know every detail of the neighborhood, every blind point. They are watching us, said Anna. Every step of ours is watched, Samuel nodded. If we go into direct conflict, there will be no way out without consequences. The billionaire took a deep breath, closing his fists. Then we'll do what we always did. Use our heads. Plan each movement. Anna looked at him, worried. But what if they know we have the diary? You can't know, he said, his voice firm. It's the only advantage we have. Silence has dominated the room again, but now charged with an electrical tension. Everyone there felt that every sound, every shadow, could be the difference between the truth coming out or being buried forever. A sudden creak from outside made everyone shrink. The heavy steps firmly approached the front door. Anna swallowed hard. They will try to open. The billionaire moved quickly to the door, holding the diary with one hand and the doorknob with the other. Get ready. The first punch against Madeira made the house shake. Anna held her breath. Samuel positioned himself behind the couch, ready to act. Open the door, a serious and authoritarian voice ordered. The billionaire responded coldly. Let's not open. We know he's there. The voice increased, threatening. Who? Anna whispered, trying to keep control. Do they know we are with Samuel or with the diary? Both, said the billionaire, tense. They know. It's just a matter of time. The second punch echoed. The door moaned under the force of impact. Anna held the diary, fearing that any movement could ruin it. Samuel, any way out? Asked the billionaire, his eyes running around the house. The elderly man took a deep breath. There is a basement, an emergency exit that few know, but we will have to act fast. So that's it, said Anna, swallowing dry. We will have to separate, or we will all be in danger. The billionaire looked at her, her eyes full of tension. We can't let them have access to it, he said, holding the diary harder. If we separate, we must keep contact constant. Samuel approached the basement, the serious expression. Once down there, no one knows where we're going. It's risky, but it's our only chance. The noise on the door increased. Now they could clearly hear their hands blowing the wood, trying to break the lock. The billionaire took a deep breath, deciding for a plan. Anna, you accompany Samuel through the basement. I will hold the door as much as I can. Then we met again at the meeting point we agreed. Anna swallowed hard, feeling her heart accelerate. But what if they can enter? We have to believe they won't, he replied, his voice firmly. Would you do the same if you were in my place? Comment whether I think I'm right, or if we should run away together. She nodded, swallowing the fear. Let's do that. While Anna and Samuel moved toward the basement, the billionaire was firm behind the door, the extended arms, ready to prevent any invasion. The blows in the wood intensified, and the tension reached the apex. I warn you when you're safe, Samuel shouted from the bottom of the corridor. The billionaire took a deep breath, keeping the body firm, each muscle ready to react. The knock on the door increased, and fear mingled with adrenaline. He knew that night was not just about discovering a secret, but about surviving to tell the story. Anna passed the hallway, feeling every beat of the heart. "Samuel, fast," he whispered. "Almost there," he replied, pulling the basement lever. The Ranjus's door, revealing a steep staircase that led to a narrow tunnel. The billionaire looked at them one last time, and then prepared to face the men outside. The first arm appeared, trying to force the entrance. The billionaire pushed with all the strength, his body supporting the impact. "They won't take it," he shouted, his voice echoing down the hallway. Anna and Samuel began to go down the stairs, panting, each step echoing the tunnel. The sound of the persecutors was still resounding above them, but there was hope. "Do you think we'll get it?" Anna asked, almost no breath. "We have to make it," Samuel replied firmly, holding his hand. "If not, the whole truth will be lost forever." But as the billionaire held the door tightly, the tunnel swallowed them, leading them to temporary security, but making it clear that the fight was far from over. "And you, if you were in their place, would you trust such a risky plan, or try to face everything from the way? Comment what you would do, because the next decision can change everything." At the bottom of the tunnel, heavy breath and distant sound from persecution created an almost unbearable tension. Every step that took them closer to the truth and the danger. The darkness seemed alive, watching, waiting. The billionaire alone was still holding the door. I knew that every second it could be the last opportunity to protect what mattered most. But the question hovered in the air. Would they be able to survive to see the great revelation? The tunnel seemed endless, a narrow corridor that smelled the wetland and ancient wood. Anna and Samuel descended quickly, the portable lanterns casting short beams of light that reflected on the walls. Each step was echoing, increasing the tension in the chest. The billionaire behind them still holding the door, facing the men who knocked insistently, trying to break into the entrance of the house. "Do you think they will follow us here?" Anna whispered, without taking her eyes off the way ahead. Samuel shook his head. "No, this tunnel is old and too narrow. No one would dare to follow without knowing the ground, but we still need to be fast." Anna swallowed hard, quick and quiet. The corridor laughed in a way out that led to a small wooden cabin near the lake. The water reflected the light of the moon, creating a sparkling, almost magical surface, which contrasted with the fear that was still accompanying them. Each sound of the surroundings seemed amplified. The rustle of leaves, the ranger of the wood, the jump of small animals through the ground. "Here we are," Samuel said, pulling the cabin door carefully. "There is no one else around." Anna took a deep breath, trying to calm her breath. Finally, a little peace. "Momentary peace," corrected the billionaire, who had come down the tunnel right behind. "We still don't know what we're going to find." The cabin was simple but welcoming. There was a sofa spent, an old table, and a small bookcase full of books and organized papers. Samuel pointed to a carefully placed envelope on the table. "That came from her," he said, his eyes fixed on the object. "She wanted you to receive, but cautiously." The billionaire approached and took the envelope, feeling the weight of the paper as if each word contained there carried an entire story. Anna leaned over, trying to see what was written, but he just shook his head. "Not yet. First we need to organize the information. Every detail matters." He opened the envelope carefully, removing some photographs and letters. Anna held her breath. "There are many clues. How are we going to decipher everything?" "One thing at a time," he said, putting each item ahead. "Let's start with the diary." He opened his cover notebook and began to flip, finding passages that narrated secret encounters, unlossy letters, and memories that revealed secrets that time had hidden. "She describes moments no one could imagine," said the billionaire. "Hours passed here, conversations that changed her and my father's life." Anna looked at her pages, fascinated. "And these letters? It seems that there are codes or signs." Samuel nodded. She used metaphors to protect her son's identity. Not even he would know the complete truth until the right time. Leonario sighed. So every word has layers. We need to understand what she really meant. Anna frowned, analyzing an old photograph of a woman smiling next to a child. That child. Could Samuel be he mentioned? Samuel denied his head. No, he's another. The child in this photo is the lost child. She mentioned his existence repeatedly, but always with caution. Then he's alive, said the billionaire, the voice almost a whisper. And you probably don't even know who the father is. Exactly, Samuel answered. And that's why everything needs to be gradual. She couldn't deliver the truth at once. The world outside would not forgive. Anna took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the situation. It's a lot to absorb. Every letter, every track. Do you think we'll be able to find out his identity without endangering everyone? The billionaire closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the tiredness last night and the weight of his father's legacy. We have to make it. We cannot allow the story to be lost again. Would you do the same if you had in my place? Anna nodded. Yes, but we need calm. Each wrong step can be expensive. As they organized the letters, a larger envelope fell from the diary. The billionaire opened it, revealing old documents, hospital records, receipts, and a series of small coded notes. Each document looked like a piece of carefully hidden puzzle. These papers, he said, sipping quickly. They seem to indicate places she frequented with her son. Some of the addresses are old, but we can still track. Samuel frowned. Yes, but there is a risk. Some of these places are still monitored. People in their father's circle have never lost interest in ensuring that the secret remained hidden. Anna took a deep breath. Then we need to act with caution, but quickly. Each track takes us closer to it. The billionaire nodded, looking at the diary with determination. We have enough information to start the real search, but we need strategy. First, understand the codes in the letters, then track the places she mentions. Have you realized that every word of her has double meaning? Anna commented. Sometimes it seems like a simple account, but there are indications of meetings, contacts, even people who kept secret. The billionaire passed his fingers through the pages, almost in trance. She was meticulous. I didn't want anyone to interfere, but I wanted the son to know the truth someday. Samuel approached, placing his hand over the billionaire's shoulder. And that day is now, but be careful. Some of these tracks can still be traps. Anna frowned. Traps? Powerful people are still interested in maintaining the secret. Do not underestimate anyone. Samuel looked at both, really. You are not just the hunters of the truth. You are being hunted too. The billionaire took a deep breath, closing the diary. So each movement needs to be calculated. Each contact must be safe. We cannot make mistakes. Anna nodded. And what to do with the diary and the letters? We cannot carry everything with us. We need to protect them, replied the billionaire. It's the only concrete proof of what happened. And if someone intercepts, all the effort will be in vain. A silence hovered on them as the moonlight reflected in the waters of the lake. Each one felt the growing tension. The truth was there within reach, but still kept by invisible secrets, codes, and traps. So, where do we start? Anna asked, her voice low, almost trembling. First, decipher the letters, said the billionaire. Then track each address, every detail. It is a hunt, but a necessary hunt. Do you think we'll find it? Anna asked hesitantly. I have no doubt, he said, the voice firm. But it will be dangerous. Each step can reveal enemies we don't know yet. So, are we prepared? Samuel asked, looking at them. Anna took a deep breath, holding the billionaire's hand firmly. Prepared or not, we have no choice. We need to move on. And while the moon reflected in the lake waters, they knew that the next step of the search would reveal more than just the identity of the lost son. It would reveal truths about loyalty, love, betrayal, and secrets that had been buried for decades. Would you do the same if you were in our place? Anna asked softly to herself. Comment what you think will happen when we finally find your son lost. The billionaire closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the paternal legacy. Tomorrow begins the real search. Each track will take us closer to it, and closer to the truth that can change everything. The lake remained silent, keeping the shadows and secrets they were waiting to emerge. The day dawned with a pale light, filtered by the low clouds that covered the lake. The bruma hovered over the water as a veil, leaving each movement and sound more distant, more loaded with tension. Anna and the billionaire, side by side, observed the reflection of the sky on the calm surface, but her thoughts were far from the serenity that the landscape suggested. Each step in the last few days had taken them to this point, and now the truth has approached dangerously. "Are you ready for that?" Anna asked without looking away from the lake. He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath, trying to organize the internal turbulence. "Ready?" he repeated, almost laughing nervously. "I don't know if anyone may be truly ready to face their own past or what should have been, but we need to go." Samuel was beside them, carefully holding the diary and the letters. His gaze was serious, calculating every detail, every risk. "He will be there," he said, gesturing to a narrow trail that led to a small cabin across the lake. "But we don't know how it will react. You may feel angry, fear, or curiosity." Anna took a deep breath. "What if he doesn't want to see us?" The billionaire looked at her firmly. "Then we'll have to win it. Ask for play. Would you do the same if you were in my place? Comment what you would do." They advanced through the trail, every careful step, feeling the weight of the moment. The lost son's cabin was simple, with a wooden porch that ranged with every light wind. The lake reflected the scenario as a broken mirror, giving the environment a sense of surreality, almost magical, but loaded with tension. "He's inside," Samuel said low. "We can call you, but the first contact needs to be delicate." The billionaire took a deep breath, trying to control anxiety. "Let's slow. I want him to know that I'm me, but also that it is not my fault that he grew up like this." Anna put her hand on his firm. "He will understand. But we need to show empathy, not in a hurry." The billionaire nodded, and Samuel knocked lightly on the cabin door. A heavy silence stopped for a few seconds. Then the door opened slowly, revealing a tall, young, attentive eyes with an expression of immediate distrust. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice firm but laden with caution that made it clear that he had faced disappointment before. "My name is—" the billionaire began, but stopped, looking for the right words. I am someone who needs to explain, that must tell the truth." The young man crossed his arms, his eyes narrowed. "True? You know that saying that means nothing, right? They can be lies. How to know that I can trust you?" Anna took a deep breath and intervened. "We understand. That is why we will not hurry anything. We just want to share information, show that you are entitled to your story." The billionaire stepped forward, slowly opening the diary. "This diary, every word here is about you, about your mother, what happened before you were born. It's about the life you should know." The young man looked at the diary with suspicion, but also curiosity. His eyes scanned the pages quickly, absorbing every detail. Is that real?" "Every line," Samuel said firmly. "Every word was written by her. For you." The billionaire took a deep breath, trying to contain the emotion he threatened to overflow. "I know none of this erases the absence, not what you have gone through. But it's the truth, and I want you to have a chance to understand it." The young man retreated a few steps, seeming to fight his own reaction. "Do you really expect me to believe that? What, someone I never met? Be my father?" "I don't ask you to believe immediately," the billionaire replied, a firm but loaded voice. "I ask you to listen, to try to understand." Anna watched the scene, feeling the weight of the moment, and realized that every word, every gesture carried an almost physical tension. "He'll hear," he said to herself, "but what he's going to do with it, no one knows." The young man took a deep breath, closing his eyes for a moment. "My mother," she started, the trembling voice. "Did she talk about you?" The billionaire nodded, the voice failing. "She described me in letters, talked about our conversations." about hope, about you. Every moment I could share with her was recorded here. The young man opened his eyes, the expression softening slightly. So, is all this true? That she was waiting for me, who wanted me to know one day? Yes, said the billionaire with tears emerging. I always wanted you to know. The silence that followed was heavy, but carried from something deeper, the possibility of reconciliation, of understanding. Anna felt a shiver. And now, he thought, what will he do with all this? The young man walked slowly to the diary, cautiously touching him as if the object were fragile. I don't know if I'm ready, he murmured, but I need to see more, understand more. We'll show you all, Samuel said. Every letter, every detail, but you decide the rhythm. The billionaire approaches. He cursed, trying to keep calm. I don't want to rush you. I just want you to know that we are here, that we'll not face it alone. The young man took a deep breath, closing the diary partially. I always imagined there was someone, but not so. Not with so many secrets, not so afraid. Anna looked at the billionaire, her eyes shining. He's starting to trust. It's just the beginning, he replied with a low but firm voice. And every step from now on needs to be careful. The young man took a deep breath again, this time looking at the three. So, tell me, all this, do you expect me to accept it right away? To trust you? No, said the billionaire with a slight smile, despite the tension. Just listen. Comment if you would be ready to hear something like that. I will try, the young man answered, his voice loaded with emotion. But I promise nothing beyond that. And at that moment, the bruit on the lake seemed to dissipate just a little, as if the nature itself recognized that something fundamental was changing. But there was still much to discover, much to reveal, because the emotional turn was not just about accepting the truth. It consisted of facing fear, pain, and starting to rebuild ties that time and secrets had tried to destroy. The lake remained silent, reflecting the tense and thrilled faces as if waiting for the next decision that would change everyone's fate there. Would you do the same if it had gone through it all? Anna whispered. Comment what you think will happen now that he has begun to believe. And while the young man was still holding the diary, his eyes fixed on the words that had shaped his life without knowing, everyone knew that the great revelation was yet to come, that the true test of trust, emotion, and courage had not yet begun. The lake reflected the last light of day, dyeing the waters with tones of amber and grey, while the cabin seemed isolated from time, floating in an almost supernatural stillness. The billionaire, Anna, and the young man remained there in silence, absorbing the weight of the moment. Each breath carried the density of decades of secrets, errors, lost loves, and never made. So that's it, the young man muttered, still holding the diary. All my life, everything I thought I knew, it was incomplete. The billionaire slowly approached, the serious expression, but full of tenderness. I know, and I can't erase what happened. But I can try to help you understand, to rebuild what was lost. Anna took a deep breath, trying to contain her own emotion. Sometimes life introduces us to pieces that seem too broken to reassemble, but it is precisely in these pieces that we find our strength. The young man closed the diary carefully, staring at the billionaire. Do you expect me to trust you after all? What except my father? Paused, swallowing the pain. Was it absent all these years? I don't expect you to accept right away, the billionaire replied, the firm but vulnerable voice. Just listen. Who is willing to know the truth? Comment what you would do if you were in my place. Samuel, in silence until then, approached. The truth is not just about who we are, it is about who we chose to be after meeting it. It is not about forgiving or forgetting immediately, but to recognize what is real and act with conscience. The young man took a deep breath, looking at each one. It's hard. It's too much to absorb. My mother, my whole life, and now you appear with all these documents, these letters. It's too much. "I know," said the billionaire, getting even closer. "But everything she wrote, everything she kept had a purpose. She wanted you to know, not in a painful way, but in a way that could understand and grow with it." Anna gently touched the young man's arm. "Sometimes secrets do not exist to hurt us, but to protect us." She did what she thought best at the time. The young man looked at them, his eyes teary. "But what about you?" he asked, the voice loaded with emotion. "How did they endure all these years, knowing that a part of my life was lost to me?" "Each day it was a fight," the billionaire replied, his voice low. "Fight between what I could do and what life stopped me. But the most important thing is that we are here now, and we can change what comes next." Samuel nodded, resting his hand on the young man's shoulder. "The past shapes us, but does not define us. What we do now with the truth in our hands determines who we become." "What if I can't forgive?" asked the young man, his eyes fixed on the lake. "What if the anger is bigger than my curiosity?" "Then you feel," Anna answered softly, "and it's valid. There is no hurry. There is no obligation. But knowing the truth gives you choice. And choosing is power." The billionaire took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of relief and tension. "Would you do the same if you were in our place?" "If I knew what years of absence they can be, just only for the need to protect, or the fear of making mistakes." The young man remained silent, observing the surface of the lake that reflected the last rays of the sun. Finally, he closed his eyes, breathing deeply. Maybe I can try, but I need time. I need to understand everything, every word, every gesture." "This is fair," replied the billionaire. "Each step at your pace." Anna smiled slightly, feeling the tension decreases but not disappearing. This is what makes everything so complex. The truth is just the beginning. What comes later requires courage, patience, and empathy. The young man opened the diary again, carefully flipping through the pages. "She knew me even before I was born," he murmured. "Every detail, every card. It's like I had lived with her without knowing." "She always believed you deserved the truth," Samuel said firmly. "And now it's time for you to decide what you will do with her." The billionaire took a deep breath, the tension mixed with hope. "Each choice going forward shapes our relationship. We cannot erase what happened, but we can build something new." "Comment what you would do if you were in his place," Anna said, almost whispering. "Listen to all the secrets of your own family at once. Could you forgive, accept, or be lost?" The young man looked at them, a firm but doubtful gaze. "I don't know yet, but I want to try. I want to understand every word, every gesture, every choice that my mother and you made." "It's the first step," said the billionaire, thrilled. "Recognize that the truth exists and that we need to deal with her, not ignore her." The wind crossed the lake, blowing the diary slightly in the hands of the young man, as if nature itself were whispering approval, encouraging the journey that was just beginning. Anna took a deep breath, looking at the lake that now reflected a misleading calm. "The story doesn't end here," she said. "Each revelation brings a new question, and each question requires courage to answer." "Do you feel that?" asked the young man, his voice loaded with expectation and fear. "The feeling that everything will change from this moment." "Yes," Samuel replied firmly, "but the change is inevitable. Every decision we make now echoes in the future, for good or for evil." The billionaire closed his eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility and hope. "Tomorrow, it will be the day when we will start to rebuild everything. We don't know exactly what it will be, but we know the truth gives us this chance." The lake was still calm, almost indifferent, reflecting the sky and the golden light that dissipated. But for all three, reality was different. They carried secrets, hopes, fears, and the possibility of rewriting their lives. "Would you do the same if you had discovered your story just now?" Anna asked softly. "Comment what you think will happen when the next decision is made." And as the sun slowly disappeared on the horizon, each one felt that that night would mark the beginning of something that would change everything. The search for truth, the reconstruction of family ties, and the confrontation of all the secrets that were still hidden, ready to emerge in the next turn of the story. The morning shot still hovered over the lake, and the silence seemed to amplify every short sound. The porch wood grinding, the leaves of the leaves, the contained breath of each. The billionaire, Anna, and the young man were gathered in the cabin, surrounded by diaries, letters, and documents that counted on decades of family secrets. Each page carried not only memories, but decisions that shaped lives, and now everything converged for an inevitable moment. "Are you ready?" the billionaire asked, the voice loaded with emotion. To know the complete truth, the young man took a deep breath, holding the diary, but still hesitant. "I think so. Or at least I want to believe that I can handle it." "So," said the billionaire, looking into his eyes, "you need to know who was really behind everything, who tried to keep you away from your own story." Anna spent a yellowish letter, handwritten by the young man's mother, with a delicate, almost fragile handwriting. She wanted you to see this first. The young man opened the letter, and reading began slowly, every word loaded with tension and emotion. The mother described secret meetings, confidences shared with her, and the existence of a network of people who, out of greed or fear, had tried to hide the truth. But then came the line that made the young man's heart to stop. "The man you call a father is not just your parent. He has always kept an even greater secret. You are heir to everything my family has built in silence, a legacy of responsibility, wealth, and choices that can change the world around you." The young man raised his eyes, shaking. Does that mean I'm heir?" "Yes," said the billionaire, approaching with tears in his eyes. From what we built, everything we kept was so that you could know the truth, so that I could decide whoever it wants to be, with all the responsibility and freedom it implies." Samuel put his hand on the young man's shoulder. "It's not just money. It's not just a legacy. It is a chance to rebuild relationships, to write your own story with conscience and courage." The young man swallowed hard, absorbing each word. "So everything I felt, the absence, the anger, the doubt, all this now makes sense. You never really abandoned me. You were just protecting something bigger." "Exactly," said Anna, with a soft, almost maternal smile. "And now you have the choice. Accept the past, learn from it, and decide the future, or continue carrying doubts." The billionaire reached out, and the young man held her. At the touch, an invisible bridge formed, connecting not only two men separated by time, but a family legacy, secrets, and second chances. "Me," the young man started, his scored voice. "I want to try. I want to do it differently. I want to honor everything my mother and you did for me." The billionaire smiled, finally relaxing for the first time in years. "Then it starts today. The story does not end here. But now you know the truth. Now you have the power to write the next chapter." Anna looked at everyone, thrilled. "And remember, the most important wealth is not in money, but in the choices we make and the relationships we build." The lake reflected the sunlight, sparkling with promises of a new future. The young man closed the diary, finally feeling part of something larger, a story he had expected for decades. Revelation not only joined a family, but paved the way for reconstruction, forgiveness, and a legacy that could inspire generations. "Would you do the same if you had discovered your own story like that?" Anna asked, looking at the camera as if she spoke directly to those who watched. Comment below. I believe in second chances. No, if you felt every emotion of this story, leave your like, subscribe not to lose the next billionaires and family narratives, and click on the recommended video on the screen to continue following life-changing stories.